right, guys, this is going to be a bit of a different video. I know that I've talked about it a little bit, but finally going to make the video, figured since I'm back home, about my ruptured brain aneurysm.
It happened about 2 years ago.
Cinco de Mayo.
Which is very strange because 2 years before that, I actually broke my face with a baseball. It was 2 years to the day that it happened.
We don't think a Cinco de Mayo is a party day.
Yeah.
It's not a party
It's
day
a wrap
anymore.
yourself in bubble wrap.
It used to be a party day for me, but you guys ruined it.
We ruined it. Now you're not allowed to have fun. So it's been a hard time to figure out how to do this video because I didn't know how to start or what to say. So I figured they would help me. So we'll start it with, it's Cinco de Mayo. I went to work, work in special education. I had a normal headache. I remember having a headache that day. Normal.
She's a migraine sufferer.
Headaches are common in our family.
So I went to school, went to work, normal headache. I'm a migraine sufferer, and I came home. Luckily, Gage was home from school, and I asked him, because it was Cinco de Mayo, if he would drive me to a friend's house.
And I lovingly said yes.
Yes, because he's such a good brother, so responsible. And so I was up in the shower. I don't want to be too dramatic. I'll get way there. But anybody who is a migraine sufferer who asks me, and they're like, well, how do you know? I go, trust me when they say the worst migraine of your life, and it's the sudden. Anyone who's a migraine sufferer, you know that you kind of feel it, it's coming. This was, I thought someone took a baseball bat to the back of my head. That's how hard and sudden it hurt. The ruptured aneurysm exploded. I had to catch myself in the shower. Thankfully, I am tall enough, so I braced my hand on the one side, caught myself on the top. I remember thinking, if you hit your head, you're done. Yeah. So you have to be like, and because they kept asking in the hospital, you sure you didn't hit your head? You sure you didn't hit your head? And I'm like, no, because I curved back and I slid down and used my back to slid.
That was smart.
And then I was trying to yell for Gage.
And she couldn't.
It hurt. It hurt so much to yell.
And I'm just in the next room.
Like just right there. And we have a Jack and Jill bathroom. Yeah. So I mean I can hear him coughing. I can hear him listening to the TV, and I'm trying to yell, and that hurts. So then I start hitting on the shower. Yeah, the bottom of the tub.
And that's
what you heard?
That's what I finally heard, and then I was like, I wonder what that is. So I went up to go check on her, and Tawnie's like, your voice was so hoarse already, and he was like, I don't know, my head hurts so bad. I can't stand up. And so we're like freaking out, and on top of that, she's like, I need your help to get me out of here. And then I'm like, great, my sister's naked. and I'm like, I thought you were just being dramatic at the time. And then but luckily we got a towel situated, and then she got a robe.
Well, that's what I think is sad, is that even though my brain was rupturing, I was still like, don't worry, hand me the towel. Like, I know.
See me.
It was very
You were worried about being his feelings.
Yeah.
You were being modest.
It was very kind. So I helped her to the bed and told her everything was going to be fine. And I guess from there...
Well,
did you get her water?
I did.
No, you were like, I'm calling mom. You were like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've never seen you like this. And I was like, just give me one of my migraine meds. And I was like, and the dogs were jumping on the bed. So if you've had a migraine, you're like, get them away from me. So I just said, close the door. And you're like, I'm going to call mom. I'm going to call mom right now. I don't know what to do.
Because I was at work.
Yes.
So I get a call from Gage. Obviously just going, Tawnie had a really bad headache, and I have not seen her like this. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm almost home, I'm driving home. I'll be home then. Give her water and her migraine pill, and I'll be right there. And so when I came home and went in there, she was just laying there, but it seemed like it was a migraine.
Well, and I kept saying the problem was, it's not talked about enough. I know all of you are like, I've heard of brain aneurysm. I did not know any of the symptoms. I didn't even comprehend what it was, that it's a part of your brain, just a little bubble that could just explode. And I didn't even think that. I just kept thinking I'm getting older and this is how migraines are. And so did I throw up in front of you? I don't remember, because that was the biggest thing. I've never thrown up from a migraine.
No, but you said that. I remember you said I threw up, and I go, well, I've thrown up from migraines.
I have as well. So
So
that
I
didn't
didn't-
seem that out of the ordinary. Even though you've never done it, it's something that happens
Yeah.
with migraines sometimes.
So
So it didn't seem that out of the ordinary.
So
And we are the type of family that if you have something, we don't go to the doctor. It's kind of like we pretend that we're doctors ourselves, apparently, and
Eventually feel better.
yeah.
eventually you feel better.
We only
Exactly.
go into the doctor if it's like really, really bad.
Exactly.
Right.
They
So
have to reattach something.
when was the first time that you went to the doctor now?
So now this is
Well, first
Oh,
off,
wait.
we were trying to see what was going on with Tawnie, and so, not being a doctor, but I have the internet. I went in and tried to find out, and I looked at all the symptoms, and because it seemed like it was more than a migraine, and finally came up with meningitis.
We've got to back up.
yeah, we have to backtrack. So why you're like, why didn't you immediately take her to the emergency room? I'm like, it's just a migraine. Just let me sleep. And it's just that just happened.
Yeah.
That stinks. Go to sleep. It was the next day you went.
I flew to Denver.
They were not.
We weren't here.
And it was that I remember Dad saying when he got home from work, he was like, "Yeah, she's still just sleeping, and she can't get up."
And
that's when.
then you started looking into it because after the next day she goes, Mom, I promise, just go. I just have a really bad migraine. It'll be fine. I'll sleep it off. And those of you that are migraine sufferers know the best thing for a migraine is sleep. And you usually wake up. And I've had migraines last 3 days, so I'm not thinking that this is anything
Out of the ordinary.
that abnormal. We said, do you want to go to the hospital? Do you think we should go in? No. I think, it sucks. It hurts so bad. But I'm just being a baby and it'll be fine.
So we went that Saturday and I might be wrong. I believe that it was on that Thursday, and I think we went to the emergency room because then the next day when I was trying to call the doctor, that's why I couldn't. Everyone's like, why didn't you go see your normal doctor? It was a weekend.
So you think we saw him on Saturday?
Yeah, I think we saw the one emergency room on Saturday, which they do misdiagnose a lot. In fact, early diagnosis is critical, as the initial hemorrhage may be fatal, may result in devastating neurological outcomes, or may produce minor symptoms. Despite widespread neuroimaging availability, misdiagnosis or delays in diagnosis occurs in up to 25% of patients with a subarachnoid hemorrhage. When presented for medical treatment, failure to do a scan results in 73% of these misdiagnoses. So that's what, if demand a scan. Yes, it usually doesn't happen to someone until they're 40. Yes, I have none of the family indicators, none of anything. But when someone says my head hurts really bad and they have insurance, you should scan them. But I let the doctor say no. Convince me no, to the point that he was willing to put nerve blockers. So before they're going to shoot my brain with nerve blockers, they didn't even think they should scan.
It was idiotic because I sat there watching the guy, and he goes, "We're going to do a nerve block."
And you asked, she asked.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be getting a scan? Shouldn't you guys be getting a scan?
And so I didn't even know what a nerve block was, but it was, they shot her up on the front of her forehead and then the back of her neck, trying to numb everything. I thought kind of blocked all the nerves going in. I didn't realize it was just trying to numb up your head, but it was just weird. And I was like, hey, it should be better. Okay, get out of here.
Good. Just give her migraine stuff. So because I didn't know, didn't demand, so we went home. I felt a little bit better because I was numbed up.
And you trust the doctor.
And you trust the doctors. And I'm not saying don't trust doctors. I'm just saying when your gut is telling you, I want to scan, something's not right, don't let somebody else convince you that you're wrong. Because so what? If I was wrong and they did the scan and I was wrong, well, whatever.
You're paying for it
I
anyways.
paid for it anyways.
And like you said, it was the worst.
Right.
No. But that's what I'm saying is a lot of people with brain aneurysm, it is like a stroke and it does affect their eye, usually crossing out. Mine was different because since it was on the orbital, but she still said in rehab she has no idea why mine crossed in and not out. Everybody else's crosses out.
So basically they came home with the nerve blocker. I'm still out of town. She's better because she has no feelings. And the next day, did you get a hold of your neurologist or a
No,
doctor?
I suffered through the whole weekend. That's what I'm saying. It was a whole weekend. And then on Monday was when I was able to reach, well, I still was calling my neurologist, not getting any answers. They finally called me back and said, we called in a steroid. Let us know if on Friday you're still having this migraine. So I laid in bed, and I did, and I know people are like, there's no way. I felt like I was dying. Every day I woke up, I said, this hurts so bad. And I seriously remember standing over by the kitchen, and I was getting yogurt so I could take a pain pill and saying, knock it off. This cannot be that bad. That doctor didn't even want to scan you. He didn't even think your things were big enough to scan you, Tawnie. He did nothing. So why are you going to go to another doctor? Suck it up. Stop being a baby. So I just laid there. You couldn't sleep because I was in so much pain, but I couldn't sit up. And I know that you're like, why didn't you notice your eye for some? It just, because it was obviously bleeding. It felt better to be like this and holding it. And so I didn't want to open it. And so I never really noticed how bad it was getting until finally that whatever day I noticed, and I asked Gage, because Mom was still gone, and I asked.
And I was here at my beck and call because I was at home from school.
And I said, because I'm noticing, I go like, hey, this eye looks like it's kind of crossing in.
And I remember I told you no because I didn't want to freak you out, but it was a little bit.
Anybody's eyes are crossing in, usually something neurological is going on.
Yeah.
You don't ever just say
Light
like,
bulb.
hey, it's. You were like, I didn't want to freak you out.
I should have
It's
told
okay.
you.
You should have said, yeah, it is. We need to get somewhere.
We still wouldn't have known what.
We wouldn't have known.
So I'm in long distance yelling at them going, didn't you tell them to take the scan? It's meningitis. Because of course I'm the mom and I know it's
Yeah.
meningitis.
Yeah, well, I
Why are we going back
told
to
you,
that?
so you're
I'm just
thinking
saying-
that's it.
So I go back, I tell Tawnie why she's waiting this week to get the massager. We've got one of those massagers on her neck, which the neurologist said that's probably the worst thing we could have done.
He said the entire time, it goes, at any moment you could have squished that blood and hit parts of your brains and forever
Done.
be like.
Well, everything that we did was wrong and should have killed her. Everything we did was wrong.
So, what happened with Tawnie was her aneurysm ruptured, and that's different than just having it. And 15% of people with ruptured brain aneurysms die before they even reach the hospital.
That's
So,
how critical.
That's how critical it was. And she was bleeding in her brain for 7 days.
Yep.
7
Oh.
days.
Whole week. And so I knew, I looked up my insurance. There was a hospital that was in that insurance. So we drove. I asked Dad, he drove me all the way down there.
You just looked bad that morning. You came down and you were like dressed and you're sitting.
And then
they did the scan, come back out, and she's telling me, she goes, it's a brain bleed.
And that's why I don't know if I remember it, because this is how I remember her going. So we did the scan, and you do have a subarachnoid hemorrhage. And I remember, okay, hemorrhage means blood. And then, there's a.
Dakota, leave the bungalow.
So I just remember hearing subarachnoid hemorrhage and going, oh, okay, that's my worst fear. Exactly what I was worried about is happening. And then she goes, we would do a scan to see if you are still rupturing, but there's no point in that because we don't have a doctor here who can do the surgery.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And so anyway, so they say, well, we're going to take her up to Cleveland Clinic. And so I'm standing there, and I heard all the aneurysm and stuff, and the brain bleed and all that, and I can't believe what I'm hearing, and I'm trying to stay kind of upbeat so Tawnie doesn't get too afraid. And so they said we're bringing a ambulance up with some attendants so we can take her up. And I said, okay. So we're waiting. And I see these EMTs coming in.
Wait, but before that, I think the funniest is that she's like, we have to take you to the Cleveland Clinic. And I'm like, can't my dad just drive me? And she goes, no, I don't think you understand what's going on. I'm like, I don't want to have to pay that ambulance ride. Can't my dad just drive me? And she was like, no, you need to be monitored. You cannot just, and then that's.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking I'm just going in an ambulance car. Like I've never been in an ambulance
they're just
ride.
trying to charge us more. That's what you're thinking.
Dakota ate the bug.
So I see the EMTs come in, and I'm looking at it. They've got like one piece. They're like jumpsuits, and I'm looking, and they got little wings on the breast up here, and I was just like, oh my God, this is life flight.
It's a private plane.
Yeah.
No, it's a helicopter.
And so again, trying to play it down a little bit, I went like this. I went, Tawnie, like saying, it's a helicopter, you're getting to the helicopter.
And tell them I thought, I was like, yeah, round the wagons. I know, we're going. Let's
Like,
go.
hurry it
Let's
up.
go. I'm going.
That's our hurry it up.
Yeah, hurry up.
That's our hurry it up. Round it up. Let's go.
And so they put her together and wheeled her out, and I followed her. I mean, it seemed like we went in 12 doors and up 3 levels, and finally we got to the top, and I was just right there with her, and they were running. And we got finally to the roof. They wouldn't let me go with you.
No.
There wasn't enough room in there, and I guess I was bigger then. And the hardest thing I ever had to do was watch her going out of the hospital into the helicopter.
Yeah.
I was just like, this isn't right. And so
because I didn't have time to even process that. They were just kept telling me, because they said usually people are not lucid for this, and they were very worried about what was going to happen when they hit that pressure. So they're like, when we start going up, if you feel anything, we mean anything. And I had all 3 of them, and they're like this, staring at me. They're like, you good? You good? They're like, how's the view? And I'm like, okay. I mean, I can kind of see some stuff. I don't know.
Because she was super lucid still.
Yeah, I was still
fine.
Yeah, and the pain meds, so I was kind of processing what was going on, but not really. And then when I showed up to the Cleveland Clinic, I just remember showing up to the most doctors I have ever seen, and it wasn't just nurses. And I still laugh to this day. Me and Mazurek cannot figure out. There is one doctor. I describe this person, and everyone at the they're like, I do not know who this person is that you're talking
Mazurek
about.
is your primary doctor.
Is my primary doctor who performed the coil. However, because as he said, when you were sent to us, we had no idea what we were coming into. So all the heads of neuro were in there. So I had a lot of them. So that's why this neck surgery is not as scary, because he goes, we've already been in your brain under the emergency. The second time around, cakewalk. So they went in there and he explained it. I don't know.
They went in, and I'm driving up since I had to take my car, and so I got up there and rushed and just ran. I think I parked illegally somewhere, ran up there, and by the time I got to where I was supposed to go, they had taken her in already, and I was just
very much an emergency.
And I didn't think that they. Well, I guess I should have thought that they would. So one of the nurses said she's in there. They're working on her now, and it's like I just watched her go. Now I can't see her.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically sitting there and waiting, and I had a couple people come up and say, hey, but it seemed like hours.
So Mazurek said that when he went in there, he goes, we believed there was blood, of course, in your brain, so we thought you had ruptured. There's no way she has still been rupturing. It had to have closed itself off. So they do an angiogram to be able to see what's going on in there. When they did the angiogram, he said, do you remember the appointment? He goes, you were this close to death. He goes, you were still rupturing. When we went in there, you were still bleeding. So that means this entire time I had been bleeding into my brain. And he said, I'm a dad, and you scared, pardon my French, out of me.
He did.
And
That's what he said in the
that's
after.
and that's where it really hit home, because it wasn't just that I survived it. When the guy who deals with it all the time tells you, holy smokes, I don't know how
be here.
You are okay. And when I complain about little things that are hard, he laughs. He's like, you coming in with your notebook saying how you can't add fast is just hilarious. He goes, you're walking and talking to me. You're alive. But
because it's 75% of ruptured brain aneurysm survivors have some sort of deficit. There's
neurological.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
basically something.
And the only thing Tawnie's she's had trouble growing hair on the one side of her head.
Yes, as Grandma said, she had her brain blew up and it made her hair go this way.
Yeah.
But I thought that they had you. That they had to ask you had to choose. Do they do the coil or do they do the whole brain thing? And you had to make that decision
right
then and there.
And I had to do it. And
I'm not there.
And I'm talking to them. Yeah, that's right, because we were still in Akron at the hospital.
And I'm in Denver.
When I called you and said, and I just had to say it's an aneurysm. And I was trying to keep it simple. So
you didn't tell me she life flighted. You just made it sound like, we found out what's wrong. We're going to go in.
Which was the right thing to do, because that whole plane ride.
Yeah, I just think you would have lost your mind.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, so they said we got to go up there through the vein into the head, or we open it up. And I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know. I've known nothing about those surgeries.
Who knew you could do brain surgery now? So the first time the coil, they did it through your groin. That's a straight shot.
That's so incredible to me.
And just modern technology, amazing. So that's what I'm saying, people, is they're trying to explain brain surgery to Dad, and like, okay, well, do either one us to, go through this new surgery, go through her groin as a coil, or we're gonna clip it.
And he said there's a high rate of success with the coil.
And it's less invasive.
And finally I just I got the doctor actually said to actually
Which
say
would you do?
what he would do. And I said, let's just go with the coil then. Do
Yeah.
that. No.
Thank heavens.
So it was
So if you guys want to know more about that side, I'm trying to, keep this, I know it's probably going to be really long. So if you guys want to get more into that, I will most definitely have another video about that. Just comment and let us know. I want to inform people, because I feel like if I would have known more about it, this wouldn't have gotten so bad. And I'm just so thankful that I'm alive. So I want to share and tell other people, because if I would have just demanded, thank heavens I am okay. But what if I wasn't? And all the people, that's what I'm telling you, people, as soon as a brain aneurysm, a ruptured brain aneurysm, even if you get them to the hospital, the statistics of people dying, the permanent damage, just go get scanned, do all that stuff. We can get into the recovery, I guess. We'll be doing more of that, because I am going to be having another surgery. So.
Well, I'll tell you, let me, so I'm in there signing the permissions, and I'm sitting there and waiting and just imagining what the procedure is. And it seemed like I said, for hours. And finally I saw the door open a couple times and people came through, and every time it did, I was like
On edge.
And they just ignored me and walked out, and I would stand right in the hallway, like looking at people, and finally the door opened, and there was it had to be like 6 doctors and nurses pushing a bed, and I'm trying to figure out if it's you, and they're all still masked and everything, and I just I can't tell, and then the one nurse looks over at me and goes,
Oh.
and I went, oh my God.
Thank you for making a thumbs up. Nobody's giving me any answers.
Look at that's making me cry right now.
Aww.
It made me cry then, man. I just knowing she was okay, it just
the amount of relief. Even to this day, I remember I was just sitting here in my bed when you texted me, Tawnie had a brain aneurysm.
Mhm.
And I was just like, okay. I didn't process it.
I know.
I still haven't been able to process the fact that she should have died. I can't fathom that was a possibility. Even now, I can't even picture it.
It's crazy. Even when I read all the statistics, that's why I'm I'm so lucky. So
you should have died.
Should have. Most definitely. A lot of people, a lot of the doctors won't always use the miracle word, but there's a lot when they all go, or when you start to hear at the hospital, you're getting known. They would come, oh, this is the girl.
This is the young
This is the young girl.
young one.
This is the young girl. This is the young one. We heard about you. They kept asking. So that's when you start to know, wow, holy smokes, and being a part of my survivor group, talking to so many other people. And that's what I just want to share more of that, because it was from reading other people's things, because when you get out, any kind of recovery, they just slap you with all the negatives and all things that you probably can't do or shouldn't do. Thank you, Dakota, show your toy. And it was just...
I'll tell you, the time that I finally felt good was when they finally got you to the room, and they set you up and they said you can go in, and I sat down and you kind of looked up and went, "Hey, Dad," and I was just like, "Oh my God!" I couldn't believe that it was. We had gone from life flight to this, and I'd known that she was okay at that point. It was.
And I just want to say, oh, damn, I didn't think about how sad this is being.
And so, see, she made it through. It's all good.
It's okay.
I know, but it's scary when you go back to
Yeah.
it. That's why when I had to do it by myself, I kept crying, because I was like, it's so, when you have to relive it like that, it's crazy.
And I just want to say the Cleveland Clinic is one of the most amazing hospitals in the country, and the people there were incredible. That's almost making me cry. They saved her life.
You did a good job.
I do have one critique of the Cleveland Clinic, though.
The food.
No. It was actually the Starbucks. They only had one place, and everybody wanted a Starbucks. So
Mine was
you had
that
to wait
it's
in line for like
The
15 minutes.
parking.
No, it's a
No.
maze to get there.
worse than that was the room that they had you in. They were redoing the whole Cleveland Clinic, renovating it, and we're in the last part that's not renovated.
ICU of the neurology department. I'm pretty sure maybe that should be updated.
So it
They made
is
it a
noisy.
closet.
It was noisy, and she had, sound sensitivity.
She had
and,
she had a neighbor that would constantly play music,
it was horrific.
and we asked him to like turn it down, and he just wouldn't.
And if anyone's been, so in ICU, to be able to monitor all of you guys, you don't have a room. So it's a curtain to separate you. So when someone has their music playing and you're sound sensitive, it's rude. So I just wanted to say that if you guys could work on that, that would be really nice.
If that guy's watching,
Rude.
But you know what? That was that made it kind of scary again, because we're seeing the nurses going over to these other guys who evidently had strokes and things, and
Oh, it was awful.
and they had a guy standing up, and they were trying to teach him how to walk.
geez.
well, that's
Yeah.
what
And
everything.
it was just like, I mean, that's what can happen so fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't even. That's what when it really hit me was I was like, I made it. I'm fine. And the test that they test you every morning and night, and it was simple things like, what is your name? So when you're sitting there and I'm like, I'm having such an easy time and I'm hearing other people, or sometimes dates have always been funny for me since the aneurysm. And you know, what year? You'd be 2 years off or a day off or a month and just weird. And it was like, oh, it's fine, it'll get better. But I'm like, what if it gets worse? But you couldn't think like that. You just had to be like, I'm so lucky that right now I'm okay. And that's all I can focus on.
And you did.
did.
And you focused on that.
You were good at that.
prevailed. Because you
And
have
we
to.
prevailed.
Because with the kids, that's what I learned. You have to, if you can just focus on your breathing in that moment. You taught me that. You're like, I know this seems like you can never get past this, but it will. It will get better. It might not be the way you imagined it. It might not be perfect, but you will get through this.
And that's
That's a perfect way to do it.
that's really it. Like that's how her aneurysm went. I know we've talked about it in the past sometimes, but this is the truth. This is the full in-depth what happened.
All good. So if you guys want to hear, I don't know how to vlog. I'm learning how to do it for this neck surgery, but comment and let me know, you guys, suggestions or what you're thinking or what you want to hear more about. Because obviously I would love to talk about this all the time. I just like to educate and spread awareness about it, but I don't want to be a dead horse. And I also want to know what you guys want to hear. So if you can please comment, let me know. Let us know. Let Gage. He's helping. Thank you so much, Gage,
You're welcome.
helping us with the technology. And Mom
I
and
don't think
Dad.
I can go through this again.
Oh, you should show your tattoo.
Oh yes,
yeah.
and so this is my tattoo I got. And you might not. So this is my brain blowing up, and they're turning into ravens. Because I don't know if you guys know about ravens. They represent rebirth, renewal. They also take you, if you're into Vikings, up to Valhalla. So it says brain blowing up, brain aneurysm survivor, and then that's the ribbon. And I also got a lotus. So cool. That didn't even the brain. Even the neuro, he goes, I don't like tattoos, but he goes, I need to show you. I need to show the other guys. in the
And he's taking
office."
pictures.
And they weren't there, so we took a picture. So, yeah, that's right. I'd say it's pretty original brain aneurysm tattoo.
Beep, beep.
So
Oh, like and subscribe, we have to
Yeah.
say. Oh, yeah. So should we all say it? Or what's better?
you
It's
should
just
pr-
one
you-
person?
yeah, you
What's
say
what?
it.
So if you guys, please make sure you like and subscribe and comment down below what you want to see, what you didn't like to see, any of your guys's, because it really is connecting, hearing about other people, and maybe you didn't go through a brain aneurysm, not saying that, but everyone has had a good and a bad day, so thank you, Mermaid Squad.
And all the comments help. They really do.
does.
Good suggestions.
And we'll see you next time.